Hello, how you doing?
Hey,
Had a good day?
yeah, it's been pretty uneventful, but yeah, fine.
Oh yeah, been at work today or?
No, I'm not back at work yet. I was I'm not starting until next week. Nicely, I've had a long
Oh,
winter
very
break.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I'm freelance, so it kind of yeah comes and goes.
very nice. Yeah, that's fair. It's all right for some. I think I had a grand total of about 3 days off for Christmas.
Oh,
Working with.
really?
Yeah, yeah. Straight back into it once we're done.
Yeah, I'm yeah very lucky with the amount of free time I have.
Yeah, no, that's nice. I suppose that that lends itself to this hobby, right?
Yeah, so I've been doing some painting some 40k over the last kind of couple of weeks, which has been nice. Got a new kind of like hobby project going.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I suppose that leads us into first questions, really. So you've been playing 40k. How long have you been playing Wargaming? And how long have you been playing 40k? How long have you been playing Ninth Age?
I haven't. I played literally one game of 40k so far.
Oh wow, really? Okay.
So it's more like it's like a painting kind of project for me at the minute, more than like a gaming project.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying like painting. I'm just painting Space Marines, and Space Marines are really kind of easy and forgiving to paint.
Yeah,
Quite,
yeah.
it's just
If
like
you're going to paint anything,
edge highlighting everything, and they just look quite good after
yeah,
not that much time, which is nice.
and a nice wash and pick out a couple of highlights and stuff, and they look fantastic. They're
Yeah,
so good for
exactly.
painting.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think they're almost like designed for that, aren't they? In terms
Yeah,
of like the models have been like
yeah. That's why they had
specifically.
the bins of them where you can pick up like free miniatures to paint at your local GW.
Yeah, 100%.
So, so if 40k wasn't your first game, what was your entrance into wargaming?
So I started playing just at the end of 8th edition. Like literally, like right at the end. I think I played like one game, and then they
Yeah,
like exploded like fantasy, which was
yes,
like a little
yeah,
bit a little bit like disheartening at the time.
yeah. I was exactly the
Um,
same. I picked it up just as they killed it off. And I've
Really,
just interviewed,
yeah.
yeah, I've just interviewed Jordan as well, and he said literally the same thing as well.
It's weird. I mean, I'm assuming maybe we're all kind of roughly the same age, and maybe we got into it like, uh, yeah, like kind of post. I got back into it, like, I guess, like post uni. I think,
Yeah.
in my
I think it
like
was late
early,
secondary school for me.
yeah. So I was like I think I was like 20 or something, so around then. But then, and then that happened, and then yeah, just literally just ninth, and then I play a little bit of some other game systems like Blood Bowl. I play a bit of, and I played a few other different things, but mainly it's just been ninth for the last like few years, and it's the only game that I play like kind of competitively, I guess you would
Yeah,
say. Like the other games, like I'm not good enough or follow enough to to try and be competitive at them.
yeah. I think it would require rather a commitment to be able to be good and competitive at more than one game system, especially one so different as like Blood Bowl from Ninth
it's
Age.
it's really interesting because like Blood Bowl is I mean I'm part of this club in London called the Wargaming Guild, which is like it's a really big
Yeah. I went to the LGT Blood Bowl a couple of years ago, just
oh
before the
really.
pandemic. Yeah.
Yeah,
Blood
cool.
Bowl is
Yes,
fantastic.
yeah. That's why I play like by playing the Blood Bowl and the Dragon Ball League that they do there and stuff. And it's interesting seeing like the crossover between different like game systems because you get some people who are like amazing at Blood Bowl and then like really not like I wouldn't say like bad players, but like much like less competitive players at like ninth or something. It doesn't, and it's you. Part of me would assume that those kind of skills are just kind of cross over different game systems, but I think obviously the
Yeah.
mechanics are different, and so you can be being like you not necessarily can just be like a good kind of like tabletop gamer. I don't think is a thing.
No, I don't think it's quite transferable enough for that. Like, I'm much better at Blood Bowl than I am at Ninth Age. Ninth Age, there's just too much stuff going on for me to fully see everything that can happen. But Blood
Blood
Bowl
Bowl's
being a little bit more of a board game, almost.
yeah, Blood Bowl's interesting, right? Because I think it's one of those games which is like it has an interesting like skill kind of increase in it, in that it can become like really at the high end, like super complex, and the interactions become really complex. And in terms of it's very like chess like, in terms of, I think when you get to like a high level of it, it's about planning like really far ahead in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is because there's only certain interactions, certain things can only move so far, and there are places for them to be on the board. Whereas like ninth, I think you can't play in the same way, because it hasn't got the same kind of structure to it as Blood Bowl.
Yeah, you've got to go in with like a really solid game plan and really stick to it if you're going to do that with Blood Bowl. Ninth Age is a little bit more flexible. You can change what you're doing halfway through almost.
Yeah, 100%.
So what do you think it is about, because you went to Masters Ninth last year, didn't you? And you did very, very well.
Yeah, I think I came second last year, which was nice.
Yes, second, 3 points behind Craig.
Yeah,
and 19 points ahead of third. So you had a really, really good run last year.
Yeah, I think it got something. I don't know. Something happened at some point, and me and Craig, I think, just got a couple of big wins in like rounds 3 and 4. I was quite far behind Craig though, I think, and then I was played Trent in the last round and managed to get a big win against Trent, which was kind of fairly lucky. I think it was one of those games where loads of stuff just kind of smash into each other, and you just like roll loads of dice, and then one of you comes out with like stuff left, and everyone doesn't.
Was that the final game of the tournament? Was that the one?
Yeah, that was. That was no. So my game wasn't. I think Craig's game was live streamed against Mikey, and then
I'm sure I remember watching that, because there was you had a Chimera Lord that stayed in combat for a very long time and then got like really lucky, right?
Yeah. I got like I think I just carried on rolling like ward saves on a Chimera Lord or something like that, and he just ends up like taking off loads of Trent stuff, and it definitely wasn't one of those like games that won on the basis of skill. It was more of a dice off.
But then it's got to happen sometimes in a dice game, hasn't it?
Yeah, and then our game finished early, and I remember then going to watch Craig's game, and Craig looked like he was losing really badly to Mike, and I was like, got a bit overexcited, and then kind of essentially the same thing happened, I think, where Mikey got really, really unlucky, and the game just completely 180 flipped, and then Craig ends up winning that game. So it was an interesting end to it, and I think it's a good example as well of something which I always kind of think, which is that, like, I think to win a tournament, you need a few things, which is like, one, you need to have kind of fairly forgiving matchups, and two, you need to have kind of decent dice, because it is a dice-based game, and I think luck comes into it a large amount. And if you have a couple of games where you just, things just don't go your way, it's really hard to. And that's the difference between kind of finishing first or like in the top 10, I think, at tournaments. I think those small differences often come into effect, like the kind of higher.
Massively. I mean, it only takes like 1 or 2 failed discipline checks to like entirely change like a whole game, and that change of a game changes like the entire tournament for you, doesn't it? So like that couple of inches, whether or not you're in range of the secondary objective at the end of the game as well.
Yeah, just really small differences. And I think if you ever end up like winning, like especially like a big tournament, like say you have an 80-person tournament, I think player skill obviously is a massive factor in it, but I think a lot of the time the people who finish first compared to the people that finish like third, fourth, fifth, a lot of the time the difference is those small kind of interactions or things that went their way, or like having a kind of slightly easier run of things in terms of like matchups for their army and their list.
Yeah, exactly. So going off of that, how many? Let's have a look at how you did for the rankings this year. So, do you remember which ones that you've been to? Which one was your favourite from this year? Have you got any particular memories?
I can't really. What was this year? So, I mean, this year's been such a strange.
So we had the
experience.
Yes, yeah. So we had the Winter War at the very beginning, which was UB, the Masters Open, which of course you weren't taking part in because you weren't playing with the scrubs, you were playing with the big boys. Scottish Championships, Underdog Brawl, that was the veto system, and then the Wandering Wizards for that was that everyone could take a random wizard.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I think they were all basically all UB, weren't they? And then there was one.
And then we started going back to real life tournaments again.
And I think I only did one. I mean, I always just prefer playing in real life. Like, I think regardless. So I think there's been some really interesting like tournament formats. I think it would be really good to have that continuous a space for people to make some more kind of interesting formats. But yeah, it doesn't really compare to like going and actually playing.
Yeah, so you've definitely got a preference for playing in tabletop then.
Yeah, I mean, I got completely burnt out of UB. I just think I just played far too much. I think because there was just so much of it going on, and because you had all the UK ones, but then there was international ones as well, and then you were just like,
Yeah.
I got a bit carried away. I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll sign up to this team one or this like singles one, etc. And then before I know it, I was playing like 3 UB games a week or something, and some of them
Yes.
were against someone in some part of the world, which meant that you were up until 2 a.m. and I got to the point where I was just like, when you just realise that you're really not enjoying something. It's become something
Yeah,
that
yeah,
should be like fun game. It has just become this like part of your life, which like you get home at the end of the day of work and you're like, oh my god, I've got to play a UB game, and it was like,
yeah, and of
it's
course they take so
dreadful.
much longer as well, don't they?
Yeah, which I don't know why they do, because I mean, it should be quicker in theory, because you click
Yeah,
on the
there's
unit, you see the angles, you see that everything's measured. It has all the tools within it that should streamline the process of playing, but for some reason it takes longer, which kind of boggles my mind slightly.
yeah, and like it's consistent across the board as well. It's not as if like some people struggle with making it quicker. It's everyone. It's always slower.
Yeah, it's
I
weird.
don't know how we manage that.
I'm not sure. Yeah, there must be something. I think it's probably like rolling dice and stuff just takes longer on it or something like that. But yeah, it's
Yeah,
strange.
yeah, for sure.
I do really enjoy UB, but I basically had a big break from it, and after those last tournaments, I haven't really played on it very much, which
Yeah,
has been quite nice.
yeah. No, I think that's valid. So which army have you taken all year? Do you have a favorite army?
So I have basically 2 armies that I play, which is
And is that the same in
Warriors.
model wise as well?
Yeah, so on UB I played B-Stars actually, which I really enjoyed. I played like a lot of games with a few tournaments with B-Stars, which I don't have an army for, which again is another like obviously selling point to UB.
Yes.
Um, and I really enjoyed playing B-Stars. I thought they were really fun. I thought I played kind of classic like Rhino Warlords, Shaman Chariot kind of build, which I think is if you like just kind of aggro, kind of like
Yeah.
push games of ninth is
Yeah,
like
it's a horrendously aggressive way of playing Ninth Age, isn't it? There's a shit ton of
it's
Minotaurs.
it's just one of those games where you either smash someone or get smashed a lot of the time, and I quite like those kind of binary like
Yeah,
game systems sometimes, especially when you're playing on UB or something where you can kind of just commit, push things forward. And I think the other thing, I think one of the reasons that UB takes so ages is like the undo mechanic as well. I
yeah,
think certain people who are very kind of considerate with their movement, which obviously a lot of kind of good players are, it gives people too much space in terms
yeah,
of being able to like, well, maybe I should move this model here. Actually, no, I'm moving back. Then I'm moving somewhere else, and you play people and they try out every variation of like the placement of their army in a turn. You're like, this turn's just taken an hour and a half, and I've watched someone, which can
yeah,
be like frustrating.
yeah. And you
Um,
realise that you're, halfway through turn one, and you've got
yeah,
several hours more
exactly.
still to go.
Yeah. So yeah, I did B-Sides, and then I've got a ogre army which I have made out of like Stormcast Eternals, which was
Oh, very
like a
nice.
kind
I
of
think I've
previous
seen that.
like hobby project,
Yeah, yeah. That went
which
to
was
BCB with you over the summer,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah. So I brought that to that tournament, and I've been playing that. That's been essentially what I've been playing on the table for the last kind of couple of years, just because I painted it and wanted to use it because it was quite happy with how it turned out, and I thought I spent all this time painting it, I might as well use it. I don't think that they are the strongest army, which is why I took warriors to this rather than beast herds, and I'm sorry, rather than ogres. And I tend to do better with warriors than ogres, which I don't think would probably surprise anyone because I think most people
I,
is
yeah. I think it's
accept
fair
the
to say
stronger
that
book.
Warriors is a better book, isn't it?
Yeah,
Or certainly more forgiving, at least.
yeah, 100%. And so yeah, I kind of decided. Also, I just played them. I played. I had a couple of games. Basically, I went to when I was in BCB. I had a Oh no, it wasn't. It was tech. So yeah, tech which just happened, and I had a couple of games with ogres, and I was just from even just from the outset, I was just playing for small losses,
Right.
um, because they one was against demon legions and one was against ID, and they just weren't games which I thought I could realistically win.
Right.
And I think if you're getting like 2-3 games a tournament like that, maybe it might be because I just throw a shit ogre list, which is probably part of it. But it's also like you kind of it's a bit frustrating because there's only so well that you can, if you're going to try and limit yourself to like small losses in a couple of games and get like whatever 7-8 points.
Yeah,
there's only so
it
much
really
you can
limits
do
your
after that.
points wise at the end of the weekend.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I kind of enjoy all of those. But essentially, like, as you can probably tell from those armies like warriors, beasts, and ogres, they're all kind of essentially just like kind of combat armies.
Yeah, they're run up and smash kind of armies, aren't they? So that's very much your preferred style as well, then.
Yeah, I think so. I think I mean, for me, I don't necessarily think I wouldn't say that. My kind of theory about Ninth anyway is that it's a game about movement. I think is where it becomes interesting. So what I really don't like is like non-interactive lists which kind of stand in a line and then force the opponents to do something while just rolling dice at them from range. So like essentially, like, I think gun lines are like really bad for the game, and they don't really engage with like how they do the mechanics of the game and how it should be won and lost. So I think like armies which kind of depend on like getting the right units to the right place in the right time, and then like that movement phase mechanic, I think are the things which I enjoy playing. I think generally, like, if you play with them where you feel like you played well, it's kind of a little bit more rewarding, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Rather than just having like dice spikes from your shooting, you've got yourself into a good position to cause that combat that wins you the game or whatever.
Yeah, and I think I also think there's something about when you're expecting your opponent to engage in the game for you in a way. So if I say, for example, if I set up a Empire gun line, I'm kind of asking the other player to engage with me. So I'm saying I'm not going to move anywhere, but if you want to play this game, you have to come towards me. It's a little bit of like an uneven exchange in terms of like how people deciding to play the game. I think it is.
Especially if you don't manage to get through all 6 turns as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it can be a little bit like, well, you can kind of try and come with me, but you're going to get potentially taken off, or you can hide in a corner as well, and then you have a very non-interactive game. I think what you really want to have like a really good game is to have both players kind of playing
and interacting with one another
as much as possible. Exactly. Yeah.
So going off of that, then the lists are out at the moment. Have you gone through and picked out any that you're hoping to not play against this weekend?
Yeah, I've had a look through the list. So I know I'm playing Craig round 1 now.
Oh yes, yep.
Which will be hopefully.
How are you feeling about that?
Fun game. I am feeling it is definitely not one of the lists which I was kind of like thinking was a good matchup for me. I'm not sure I would call it a bad matchup. I think it is. I don't know. I think I've got players. I think Craig's got players. I think I probably would favour the Red Elves in it slightly, but I think Warriors are like we said, a good army. They've always got kind of options a lot of the time.
Yeah, they should be very tough against like that. That's a lot of shooting, but generally on the lighter end of shooting. So
it's a lot of shooting. I mean, I don't really know Dread Elves, and then I read the book like yesterday, and I didn't realise what those bolt throws do, which I think is actually a bit mental. But apart from that, it's kind of alright. It's got a lot of magic as well. I think it's got a
there's a Wizard Master and a Conclave in there.
Yeah, and then obviously with the change to Lightning Vambraces, I think it puts out like a good amount of range damage, that list, and
definitely
like a very, very good player. So it's going to it'll be good. I mean, I also think like it's quite nice to there were lists that I would prefer to play or think I have a better chance against, but I also think there's nothing bad about in a tournament like this, like getting one of the harder matchups first,
right?
Because I think it's good to
at the very least it means you can't play it later in the tournament as well, right?
Yeah, and also just kind of gets you off in that state of mind where you just have to really focus straight away, and you're not like complacent or anything, which I think is a good way to kind of start a tournament.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I think the list which is probably the worst matchup for me is Haristo. I think, which I think
I
probably
think that's fair.
people
I think,
say.
yeah, dwarves are notorious for, they don't lose. They're not going to win, but they're not going to lose either. And I think this list is very,
It's very
very
not losey,
extreme with
isn't
that.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Was it
I think
92 Kingsguard?
yeah. I
Madness.
mean, it's a kind of amazing list in some ways. I think in that I think it does what it does almost like perfectly.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's got a lot of. I mean, it's also got a hell of a lot of strength for shooting as well. So it's not. It isn't not going to hurt you if you don't do anything. And then
No,
also
for sure.
so like army swap, if I get Haristo, that'd be good. But I think he's got Mark round 1, so I don't think he's going to lose that game. Or if he does, something's gone horribly wrong for him. So well, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that's going to be painful for the elves, isn't it? Very horrible.
Yeah.
So after last year's finishing second, are you hoping to beat that? Where do you reckon you'll finish at the end of this?
I'll be very surprised if I do that well again. I think there's some really strong lists, and I think there's some strong players. I think a lot of people who haven't been playing loads recently. I've had like I was doing Team England at the beginning of this year, and then step back from that just because I've just had a lot of other stuff going on, so I haven't been playing as much as I was last year. I think also, like obviously lockdown last year, I think a lot of people were just getting had a lot of spare time to play.
Yeah, it's not been quite so much this year.
Yeah, exactly. And this year's been a bit more full on with other life stuff. So
yeah, and then include the burnout from UB as well.
Yeah, exactly. So a little bit less, but maybe a little bit less like in the zone. But I think it's going to be. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be a good weekend. So final thought then, second to final thought. Do you have a favourite for who will win this year, or any particular favourites?
I think, like a lot of people said, I've played Mikey with a very similar list to what he's using, and I think that list is really, really hard to beat. Like kind of similar to Haristo's in a way, but with more like proactive plays open to it.
Yeah.
And it's a list where you obviously want to get to it and try and beat in combat, but then once you get there, it's really hard to beat in combat.
Yeah, for sure. You can't. It's not easy to grind through vampires, is it?
No, and Mikey is obviously a good player as well. So I would probably say Mikey is probably my pick to come out on top, which is kind of strange because a lot of people have been saying that, but then at the same time, I think a lot of people don't really rate the vampire book, so there's a little bit of a disconnect there. So maybe it's just Mikey's writing better lists than other people, but
yeah, he definitely knows his way around the vampire book, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So actual final thought then. How do you remember doing interviews and much coverage from last year? And how do you think it affected you last year, and how's it been different this year? And do you think it affects your preparation at all?
I will. I've been listening to a couple of the podcasts because I've been painting a lot, like I said, this week, and I think it's been good to have them on. I think it was amazing what they did last year and what is continuing to this year with essentially trying to build more of a kind of hype and kind of community engagement around it, because I think everything like that is really important for a hobby like this, which is kind of quite small and insular. And I think the more outreach and connectivity there is, the better, and the more kind of internet the community gets, the more longevity it will have as a game system, which I think is what everyone kind of wants, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Masters is a good place to show off, the best of the hobby, really, isn't it?
And I think it's also really what I think is great about Ninth as well, which changes, I think, in some other game systems, is this being for all intents and purposes, the kind of top 16 players from the last year. That they won't be any gaminess or anything. Which is kind of quite rare, because I think maybe that's again being part of a smaller community, but lots of systems, when you get to that kind of top end, you start getting a lot more, I don't know what you call it, not necessarily kind of cheating, but strange kind of people kind of taking it a little bit too far. I think we're in a nice spot of Ninth where people can be competitive, but they still have really fun, amicable games. And I know that all the games at Masters will be like that, which is a nice, exciting kind of thing to kind of get prepped for.
Yeah, everyone knows everyone, so you can't really pull any bad moves without everybody hearing about it. So everyone's very well behaved, and it's a great community.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool, excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah,
It's been
thanks so
a pleasure,
much.
and I look forward to seeing you next weekend.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
very best of luck for you.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, Wes.